to the official podcast of FCS Fans Nation with your hosts Kylor Neal, Matthew Frazee, and Jamie Williams.
FCS Fans Nation, welcome to a special live edition of the FCS Fans Nation podcast. I'm Jamie Williams, joined here by not that guy. No, sorry, that's not Mark Gronowski on the other screen. That is Kylor Neal. Kylor, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. Just like last week, just wearing the tradition of the losers. So you know what? South Dakota State, you dropped the ball this week. You were a favorite. Were they a favorite? I think they were like a 1.5.
2.5.
Oh, 2.5. Oh, shit. That means you did so bad. No, I'm just joking. That was a fun game to watch. Two really solid teams. But I actually just really like this hat, too. So I figured, you know what? I'll go ahead and give it a shot since they did lose.
There we go.
And you guys can all join my pity. I'm an Eastern Washington fan. So guess what? I'm already miserable. I hope you guys are, too.
And Jamie lost, too. So, and Matt's not here to revel in the victory. But, you know, we got rid of the Air Force guy, so we figure we got to continue with the military tradition. So we're going to bring on somebody who's from a real branch of the military. Just kidding, Air Force. Welcome, Mr. Andrew Markham of the FCS Triumvirate. Andrew, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you guys?
All right. Notice I can say the word triumvirate as well, so Matt couldn't do that.
I'm never doing it. I don't care. Never going to try. I don't get it.
Yeah. Got Rev already throwing shade here. So what? Second time doing this. Leave me alone, damn it. But all right, yeah, Andrew. Big win for your boys yesterday. Got another one big coming up. How you feeling about UIW right
now? Pretty solid so far. It's a weird year, man. They're pretty much 50-50 across the board on runs and passes. It's not the air raid anymore that we saw with Kenny. So. McQueen comes from the UFC and Oklahoma branch, so it's a lot more 50-50 pro style, and it's weird. So,
it
but
is.
Other than that, man, UIW seems to be
very good. Well, we're going to go ahead and just kick right into our top six and talk about what we saw yesterday.
What are FCS fans talking and posting about nonstop? It's time for the top six topics of the week.
All right. Well, you know what our first one's going to be about because big game between the top two teams. So got a question here from Daniel Hiring. Said, so we saw an instant classic of two great teams. How much does it being a rivalry game skew our minds into thinking it's only a two-team race? Then we'll talk a little bit about this game in general. So, Kylor, what do you think about the general question here? Does the fact this is rivalry skew our perspective here a little bit?
No, because, if this was Northern Colorado versus Northern Arizona, that giant rivalry, it doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean this is a two-headed race. So I don't think the rivalry means anything. I think just the history of these two teams, they've been the most dominant teams after JMU left in the last 5+ years. So, I mean, I think that definitely has more to do than any real rivalry talks. The rivalry made it fun. The rivalry made it mean more, right? But at the end of the day, you have the two-time defending champion versus the greatest team in FCS history going against each other. And it was only the second or third time in history a 1 and 2 seed has played each other in the regular season. I mean, that means a lot. So take the rivalry out of it. Who cares? It was a 1 versus 2. That rarely happens in the FCS. That meant way more than anything else. So it was a fantastic game. I'm sure we'll talk more about it. I bet you every single question's, about South Dakota State and North Dakota State, you losers.
Thankfully, it's not.
Oh, okay, cool. But no, it was a fun game to watch and a really boring game at the same time.
Yeah, it really was kind of a boring kind of game. But at the same time, I do like a knock them in the head, just line them up and see who's got the better lines kind of football. So I did enjoy that aspect. But, it's a little bit just back and forth. Not a lot going on. Chase Mason with the big explosive play for South Dakota State. I tweeted last night, even South Dakota State even does bring your backup quarterback in and let him run a play better than NDSU now. And Chase Mason had a big explosive play, but NDSU wound up not needing their backup quarterback because when the shifts were down, Cam Miller made every play that was needed. 7 for 7 on that last drive was one of the better drives I've seen this year. Great job by Cam. Andrew, any reaction from you for that?
Yeah, I mean, old school, boring defensive football. Both offensive coordinators suck. Offensive schemes suck. If they're selling out for the run, you gotta throw more. Like, put something and have something ready for selling out on the run like that. And man, it was just, I like a defensive game, but man, that was boring at times. I know I'll get hate for it, but that's my take. I'm used to these Southern teams where it's just constant action, or out on the West Coast where it's constant action. So yeah, boring.
Yeah, a lot of 3 yards and a cloud of dust type stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was saying, like, this was an exciting game to watch. It was just boring at the same time, and I think both things can be real. It was exciting in the sense of, like, who's gonna actually put effort, in the front and actually drive down the field. Who's gonna take control of this game? That was the exciting part. The defense, I mean, these are both fantastic defenses, right? I don't care if you rank them 1, 2, or in the top 5 somewhere. But I mean, these were 2 fantastic defenses. But it seems like what you said, Andrew, like the offensive coordinators, they were too nervous to make any type of plays. The last 2 drives were phenomenal by each team. They were actually taking their chances. They were trying to go down the field when it actually mattered. But I think, like, they were too nervous to fail by going 10 yards out and, maybe throw a pick or, fumble, do something stupid. So, it seems like each of these guys, they were playing for a 2-yard gain. And that's what it was. And again, these are fantastic defenses. I know that does play a part in the ability of the offenses, but it seems like everyone was scared. And they were playing scared ball, both sides. And again, fantastic defenses. I'm not taking away. They're 2 of the top 3 teams by far. And I think after number 3, it's a pretty damn big gap. But
Right.
It's one of those things where it's grow a pair. Just give it an attempt. Go down the field. Like, just try. You got nothing else to lose. You're punting here, and your defenses were playing so phenomenal. Punt, take control of that field. But it was an exciting game. I mean, I was loving every minute of it, even though it was boring at the same time.
And the one thing that impressed me, and it might be a little bit of an NDSU love fest for me tonight, for how the NDSU defense was played about 3 or 4 weeks ago, the improvement that they've shown and kind of getting into their rhythm, and really, I mean, they shut down Mark Gronowski. They shut down Griffin Wilde. They shut that whole South Dakota State offense down as well. So I was really impressed by NDSU. I mean, I had them number 1 for the last couple of weeks. Just they, to me, looked like the best team, and that's who needs to be number 1. And they went out and proved it last night with some big plays at the end. Yeah. We're not done talking about this game. We got an SDSU central question. Jordan Thal, Peter Belgardi. Jordan says SDSU offense looks stagnant, but the defense looks championship ready right now. How far can that take them in the playoffs? And then Peter wants to know, do the Jackrabbits prepare better for the Coyotes, or do they fall 2 weeks in a row? And how much panic would happen if the Jackrabbits lost back-to-back games? Andrew, give us a little thought on all that from the South Dakota State perspective after suffering a loss.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hit panic by any means. You're facing one of the teams that has won back-to-back national championships. They know how to win. They're seasoned on how to win, and you have the reigning Walter Payton Award winner. So I wouldn't hit the panic button very much, and I would say that defense is gonna help get you pretty dang deep in the playoffs this year. Now, like I said, the offense, it's a whole nother beast. That the new coordinator has to figure out a way to get Gronowski schemed in better, like he was with Lujan. It's just, it doesn't look the same, and Gronowski doesn't look the same under this new offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I definitely think the theme of them being tentative definitely played in, but they've shown that they can rip the ball up and down the field if they need to. The running game has been excellent. They just ran into a team that handled it. But the defense played very well. The defense played winning football. defense plays like that, nobody else is really going to beat them. And what you have is what we've been talking about. You've got these two teams that are so good that it looks like they're struggling because they're playing each other. But that exact same game plan against darn near everybody else in the country, save for maybe one, max two other teams, probably just one, is going to win them a football game. So I'm not going to hit the panic button. And I don't even think, even if, the Coyotes win the next game, I still think South Dakota State's going to have something to say at any point in any game in the playoffs, and still wouldn't, even if they drop another game, surprise me if they wind up in Frisco. Wouldn't surprise me if they lost in the semis. Anything before that would certainly surprise me. What do you think, Kyler?
I mean, at the end of the day, you went from playing the number 2 team to the 4? Because for sure Villanova lost, so everyone should have South Dakota probably as their number 4. So, oh my God, if you lose, holy crap, you lost probably 2 semifinal teams. Oh no, the world is ending. That means you're still probably in the semifinals. Yeah, I'm not panicking. I also don't think South Dakota State's going to lose. It is in Brookings. Now, the Coyotes, I get it. This is going to be the Coyote Super Bowl. This is 100% the Coyote Super Bowl. So they're going to play. They're going to game plan. They're going to do everything they can to win, and it's going to mean more for them to win. It was kind of like when South Dakota State was playing NDSU for a long time, when NDSU was winning championship. That was their Super Bowl. It wasn't trying to win a national title. It was, how do we beat North Dakota State? That's what South Dakota is going to do right now. It's not even how do we win a national titles. How do we beat the rivals in Brookings? I mean, that's what the Coyotes are really wanting to do. So if they somehow win, yeah, I'm not going to be too worried. That means, okay, fix a couple things. But South Dakota State's defense, I mean, it's looked stout all year long. The only time where they've even struggled a little bit was against, the team from Texas, right? Where, Incarnate Word showed a little glimpses of, actually a pretty solid offense. And Incarnate Word's been doing that all year in the last few years. I get they're more balanced. That's a very talented offense with a lot of talent on that offense. It's not just good schemes. They have talent that maybe some of the other programs in the FCS don't have. That's the only time where the defense looked okay, right? Not phenomenal, not unstoppable, but looked pretty damn good still. Other than that, it's like their offense has kind of been their weak link, at least with Augusta, that D2 team they played. Their offense was really struggling getting the ball moving versus Augusta. But then you see the last few weeks before this NDSU team, the offense has been murdering. What they put up 60 on Youngstown,
on Youngstown, yeah.
40 on Northern Iowa, and what 40 on Southern Illinois or something like that.
Yeah, I mean it was rolling, and it was. They're not playing the Masters; it's Augustana.
My bad. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care about this NIA D2 program. But at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you don't need to worry. Sure, there's things you probably want to fix, and there's probably things like North Dakota State just showed the world maybe where your struggles are. But North Dakota State's defense is going to be better than any other defense you play the rest of the season. So even if someone's trying to replicate what the NDSU does, they're not going to be able to. So you're still going to be able to have your holes, your running holes like you wanted to do all year. So yeah, I don't think SDSU needs to panic. It's one game against the number 1 team in the nation probably now. Oh no, and it was a close game. It was a slobber knocker. It was, the last team who had the ball had a shot to win. So that was fantastic and a really good rivalry game. And again, that's the best team they're going to play all season until maybe Bozeman or maybe play them again in Frisco. I mean, those are really the only 2 teams that I think are going to give you really a solid fight to where they may be as good or better than you guys. So, yeah, if I'm SDSU, no, I'm just going to go back to the drawing board, fix a couple things, maybe develop a couple more plays to get the ball more than 4 yards down the field. And I think you got a really good shot because your defense is going to keep you in every single game at this level. That defense, you should be very confident because NDSU's offense is good. They're really good. And that defense shut them down. I actually think NDSU's offense is quite a bit better than South Dakota State's offense in the grand scheme of things, more balanced. They have more weapons, a little bit better scheme. And again, that defense of South Dakota State shut them down too, besides one drive. So, yeah, you should be very excited if you're South Dakota State. One game does not define the season. Yeah,
and I like this comment from Bill too. You could tell this game meant more to both sides just because it was chippy. There was a lot of after the whistle, a lot of pushing, shoving, a lot of gum flapping, and I kind of like that. I like a little bit of personality on the field. I don't like when it goes overboard, but and this paper hands Moon Boy, whatever the hell that means. NDSU is a better team. Overall, yeah, they were, and they won the game. But we're going to get away from these two teams for a little bit and talk about some other conferences. We're going to start with the CAA. So Cody Werleter and Amos Fawcett have a couple questions that rolled into one. Are Richmond and Rhode Island for real, or is it because of the unbalanced schedule in the CAA that they're unbeaten in conference? And Amos says, what are the thoughts on the CAA? Top half's very competitive. Kylor, take the floor on the CAA here.
CAA is so weird because it is pretty unbalanced. And I don't know really what to make of it. Like, Rhode Island really hasn't played much. They played New Hampshire. Other than that, they really haven't touched anyone in the top half of the CAA, if I remember correctly. So I ranked Rhode Island pretty high, but it's just because other teams are losing, and I don't really know, because that's the thing about the CAA. I'll be the first to admit it. I don't watch CAA games because I'm not paying for flow. So with the CAA, I'm literally just looking at the schedule and stats and game flow and just trying to get a good feel. I actually don't know who's good. So in my opinion, they all suck because I don't know who's good. So that's why I'm going to continue to judge them. And Eastern sucks, and we at least beat a top half, CAA school. So that means all that conference sucks. So but again, these unbalanced schedules are a problem because they're so unbalanced because the conference is so large. I mean, it's not like they're missing two teams out of the conference. I mean, they're pretty much missing half the conference. And, Richmond's at least played a tougher schedule so far. I mean, they just came off a win with Delaware, right?
Delaware, yeah. It would be
Delaware
probably would be a top, 8 to 14 team if they were eligible to be ranked. The one thing that Delaware is doing despite transitioning, they are only using 63 scholarship players in the CAA games. So they're playing like a legit CAA team, and they've been just hammering everybody, and Richmond handled them. But that's what I think. I think you've got Villanova, William and Mary, Rhode Island, and Richmond, who are all pretty good CAA teams that are probably 12 to 18. Then you've got teams like Towson, Stony Brook, Monmouth, who are probably not top 25 teams, but will get votes. I mean, Stony Brook hammered Towson yesterday.
Yeah.
Maine, I don't think they're that good, but they basically shut out Villanova. So that's kind of where the weirdness comes in the CAA. I watched a chunk of Stony Brook, and their quarterback had a great game. That was a little bit surprising to me to see them hammer Towson that bad. It's just the CAA is kind of just a big what the SOCON did and just kind of cannibalize themselves. Andrew, what have you seen from the CAA? Do you see anybody that makes you nervous if they were to have to play Incarnate Word?
Say with your chest.
No, not really. I mean, when the product's so watered down, like nobody consistently plays a highly competitive schedule, right? You maybe get one other team that you're going to play that's highly competitive, and the rest is just so lessened by the mass amount of teams within the conference now. It kind of takes you away from being one of the quote unquote big three. I wouldn't say they're even a big three anymore. It's a top two, and there's a gap between the top two and every other conference. And what the CAA has done is really kind of killed their own product, unfortunately. And I mean, you have, what was it? Richmond lost to Wofford, right?
Yep.
Who's a mid-level SOCON team at best this year. So, I mean, you lose to Wofford and then you blow out Delaware. Like, what does that say on what you're able to provide nationally?
Yeah.
And
I
hate saying the SOCON's good.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to give us a nice, smooth transition, you just did that because the next thing you talk about is the SOCON. Buddy LeBrev, just pretty succinctly, what the hell's happening in the SOCON? He said hell, Matt typed heck. We're going to go with what the hell's happening.
Did Matt type heck?
Matt typed heck of that North Dakota nice stuff. Love you, Matt.
Oofda.
Oh, you betcha.
Are we at the time of the year that they start beating themselves up? Well, it sure looks like it. Sanford Crittenden actually is the quarterback that played a couple years ago.
Yeah.
In
the playoffs, right?
Of hires. Yep. And he was just kind of getting his feet wet that year and played okay in the Fargo Dome, honestly, and took them close to beating NDSU. But at the end of the day, they just didn't have enough. I think if they had hires, might have been something. But they went and hammered Mercer. That game was 28-0 before you could blink. And it shocked me because the way Mercer's been playing defense, I didn't think anybody could do that to that team. And then Chattanooga, they hammered Wofford, who we just kind of brought up. Chattanooga beat the pants off of them. And it took William and Mary down to the last half quarter to beat Wofford. Richmond lost to Wofford. Chattanooga beats them 37-5. So the top couple in the SOCON are, to me, better than the top of the CAA right now. And Mercer and Chattanooga should both probably be ahead of all of those teams in the ballot, despite the fact that Mercer got hammered. It's not going to make me put Sanford in, but the SOCON looks a lot better. Western Carolina's 3-0 in conference as well after they hammered Furman 52-20. By the way, Cole Gonzalez, good grief, 35-55, 620 yards and 5 touchdowns. It's like Vernon Adams was here or something without the run.
Add-on question.
Yeah.
Does that bring Cole Gonzalez back into the talks? Everyone's saying Cam Miller's there, but Cole Gonzalez just put up almost half the amount of passing yards in one game that Cam Miller's put up in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, he was slinging it. I just feel like Cole, and coming into the season, if you listen to the preview shows and stuff, I had a lot of good things to say about Cole Gonzalez, basically saying I thought he was the second best quarterback in the FCS, and it still might be true, but he has struggled in so many games, but he's starting to finally come on. He played pretty good against Montana for 2.5 quarters. Yesterday was
just rough.
Yeah, so you can't have a couple games like that and really be in that conversation. And we will talk about Payton Award here in a little while, so I'll leave most of my comments for that. Tyler, you got anything else about the SOCON?
The SOCON is doing what the SOCON typically does. And just even speaking of Cole Gonzalez, he's going to earn his stripes in the next 4 weeks because Western Carolina is finally going to start to play some of those top tier SOCON teams. And I really feel like they need to win out in order to make the playoffs. I don't think they're getting in with 4 losses. So they have all the top dogs. They're going to play Mercer. They're going to play Chattanooga. And then they're going to play ETSU, who looks tough. Those are the only 4 SOCON playoff teams you could probably count on right now that have a shot for the playoffs. And Western Carolina's 1 loss away from, eating itself. I don't know what ETSU's schedule looks like, and I didn't really look at the other ones, but I was kind of looking at Western Carolina because that 3-0, I think, is going to go to 3-3 real soon, unless Cole Gonzalez has another phenomenal game because he's going to have to put the team on his back. If you're talking about a player that means so much for the team, Cole Gonzalez does. I mean, when he struggles, look at what they were doing versus Wofford, right? I mean, they're struggling versus Wofford, but when he's putting the team on his back and throwing for 600 yards, that's a pretty unstoppable team. So, I mean, yeah, the SOCON's doing what the SOCON does. I mean, we're going to have to wait. It's always like the last week where SOCON's either they have 1 bid or 4, right? And we're just kind of waiting to see what shakes up. What shitty team is going to beat an actual good team? And it's going to happen. And that is the beauty about playing a conference where everyone does know each other. I mean, that's the nice thing is because you can game plan specifically for that team. You've seen them every single year. And I love that portion of football. I think we need to go back down to those roots because it is nice. Local, regional, every single game means more to you because you know everyone and you play everyone every single year. I love that. But at the end of the day, they're out of conference was okay, not anything special. Not a lot of teams jumped out. Chattanooga, sure. But then they played, 2 FBS teams? Mm-hmm. And then a bottom tier Big Sky team in Portland State that doesn't really prove tons. So it makes it a little bit tougher to say, does this conference deserve 3? Does it deserve 4? Does it deserve 2? Or at the end of the day, is it only going to get 1? Because they're going to beat up each other. So the SOCON's doing what the SOCON does. And I bet you by the last 2 weeks, we're going to really have a valid judgment of if it's going to be 3 or 2. And I really do believe that, unfortunately, because the SOCON is fun. I do like the SOCON. And I hope the South rises again in the SOCON football, not the other portion. So make that clear. Or the Southland. I think the Southland's actually doing some exciting things too. So there you go, Andrew. Maybe we'll talk about that. Yeah, the Southland's fun. SOCON's fun. I think the South needs to have good programs. And because, it's a big football town down here. I mean, everyone loves football. I get the SEC kind of raids it, but everyone loves football in the South. So it'd be fun to have not just the West and the North kind of run the FCS. We need other challengers. And the SOCON does have teams that can compete. ETSU went toe-to-toe with North Dakota State, right? Them and South Dakota State are really the only ones that made them look beatable. So the SOCON can play well. It just depends on what they're going to do the last few weeks. The top teams need to win. The top teams need to not lose like what Mercer just did. You cannot lose like how you just did this week. That does not look good for the conference.
Yeah, I think you're right. In 2 weeks, we're going to have a really clear picture of what the SOCON is going to look like. But muddying up the picture, with Mercer and Nova losing, does this open up another high seed for a Valley or a Big Sky team, or does it help out a smaller conference get a high seed?
Yeah.
See the shirt, see the hat. Actually, the hat, if you look at Incarnate Word, if they run the table, they're going to get a top 8 seed. And these two teams losing just make that a little bit more likely and possible. I think those two teams losing really open up anything after the top 4, honestly. Right now, UC Davis is probably sitting pretty solid. But you're looking at, the next few teams are going to be Incarnate Word, SEMO, Tarleton. Those 3 teams are going to be looking to get into that top 8 if they keep winning their football games and cannibalize teams from above them. Just if they keep winning, they'll wind up with the right FCS resume to get there. Andrew, any thoughts on how those 2 big losses impact the rest of the picture?
Yeah, I mean, Mercer's, I would say, is the bigger loss, but as far as it helping smaller conferences or other Missouri Valley or Big Sky teams, I mean, I definitely say it takes the opportunity for someone like UIW to move from probably a fringe 8 seed to now open it up probably closer to a 5 or 6 seed after South Dakota still has to play South Dakota State. They still have to play North Dakota State as well, correct?
South Dakota, I believe, has to play both of them, yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe all 3 of those Dakotas. I don't remember.
So if they still got to play all 3, I mean, you never know what that's going to turn out. And then Davis, like you said, has a pretty good foothold on what they're doing. So I don't think they'll have an issue with staying up there and continuing to get a seed. But it definitely helps, obviously, with some of the smaller schools getting in. And then obviously if Tarleton finishes, I know it's a sore subject, but if they finish and run the table, Tarleton would definitely get a seed as well.
Yeah, I mean, and don't count out North Dakota because they do play South Dakota, and they might even still have the Jackrabbits left. I don't remember. I didn't look at the schedule in a while. Kylor, any thoughts on this?
I mean, yeah, it's going to help, but I don't know, because even though we're going to prop Incarnate Word because Markham they still lost to Southern Illinois, and now that's becoming a bad loss.
A different one.
I get it. I totally understand because I watch football, but you know what? 21 of the 25 voters don't, right? And they're just going to see that on a resume. At the end of the day, it is what happened. So when you're seeing something like that, it may push still Incarnate Word, even if they run the Southland, going from, maybe a 6 seed, like you said, to maybe just outside that top 8. And you're still going to seed, but maybe it's a 9 or 10. But right. Also we have to look at what we just mentioned about the CA. If Nova lost and, that was embarrassing, well, you do have Rhode Island, who doesn't play anyone left on the remaining CA schedule. And if you go 8-0 in the CA, you're probably going to get a high seed, even if you don't play anyone. I think they have Delaware, but that still doesn't count. I don't think that's really going to be judged as a true CA loss, is it? No,
it will. Yeah, it's just it'll count in the CA standings, but
okay.
I think the committee may look at Delaware a little differently, even though, like I said earlier, they are playing
right?
3 scholars. Yeah,
we'll see what happens to that. Or maybe Villanova still wins out, and then are you going to still put Villanova, above maybe an Incarnate Word, maybe a SEMO? I mean, I'm not sure. It just depends because there is historic, preference with Villanova. Villanova is, a blue, I guess you could say, kind of a blue blood. They're a very well-known program. They have had success. So, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, you have SEMO, you have Tarleton, you have Incarnate Word, you have a couple CAA schools. Maybe this even opens the door for if Montana can make a run back, right? Or South Dakota. So, I mean, I don't know if it really helps out too much or if this could just open the door for Chattanooga, right? Does Chattanooga win out? And then, of course, are you going to put Chattanooga up there? Maybe. I mean, that's where it's like, man, I don't know if it really helps anyone or if it just switches it a little bit.
Yeah,
The two same conferences could still get those same bids. Maybe it's just going to two different teams from those conferences. I'm not sure.
And Rhode Island this week has a really big chance to kind of make a little bit of a statement if they can beat Maine, who just hammered Villanova.
Yeah.
And Rhode Island went up to New Hampshire, which is historically a tough place to play, and really dominated that game. So Rhode Island might be one of those teams that nobody's talking about that winds up doing something. So we got our last one. We've been teasing all night. We're going to talk about the Payton. So Rev's question flat out is, who's got a better chance at the Payton, Cam Miller or Paxton DeLaurent? And, he also asked if the paradigm shift from a stats award to an MVP award. I'll start here again. Ask me between those two, and the answer is Cam Miller. And I'm not sure that it's even that close. I just, the way Cam is playing, Cam's getting a lot more publicity. I think Paxton DeLaurent has been awesome and will probably appear on my ballot. I'm thinking about 6 guys. The guy that nobody's talking about is the most efficient passer in the game, has still not thrown an interception, and is leading his team to nothing but dominant wins, and that's Tommy Mellott. Tommy is working his way into this discussion, and I don't know why he hasn't gotten a little bit more publicity. I get the Montana State hasn't played anybody.
They played Maine.
I don't care. I don't care.
Murdered Maine.
They played Maine.
Who just hammered Villanova. And their strength schedule by the end of the year will be in the 20s. And when you go 8-0 and you are hammering people where you're up 20 and 30 points before anybody else can breathe, that's what you're supposed to do against that schedule. Montana State is a top 3 team. I don't want to hear it from you Dakota fans. They're a top 3 team. They could be right in between your two teams.
Oregon couldn't score on Idaho, and Mellott made Idaho look like a joke.
Yeah. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on and just let me before I kick it over, 3 running backs I'm going to say are still in there: Kayvon Britton, Cargie Lamson, and of course Shunderick Powell. In no particular order, all 3 of those are really close. Just playing phenomenal ball. I got to see 2 of them live and enjoyed it. Kylor, what are your thoughts on where the Payton stands right now?
I mean, yeah, the Payton's probably going to go to Cam Miller right now and at the end of the year, even if I'm not the one who would vote for him. At the end of the day, like for this specific question, I bet you if you ask 17 of the 25 voters if they know who Paxton is or what team he plays for, 17 of them are going to go, I have no clue. That sounds messed up to say.
There's 56 voters, by the way.
Who cares? All right. Well, then
17 still?
No, that 44 of them, right? Whatever. I really. Oh well, sue me, fight me. I don't care. I just think there's a lot of voters who do not watch FCS football, and it's unfortunate. I know we have some solid ones right here on this, podcast right now with Jamie Williams and with your group. You guys watch more games than I would say 99% of them. But also here's a weird thing. I think, and this is I'm not trying to dog on Sam Herder. Jamie and I were talking about this earlier. I love Sam Herder. I think he's the best in the business. But I do think his articles have influence, especially with people who aren't watching and don't do enough research, to where they're going to go, if you post an article, Cam Miller's a front runner, even if maybe Tommy Mellott has better stats right now, he is more efficient, he has more touchdowns, he hasn't thrown an interception, but there's more articles, there's more buzz around North Dakota State, there's more buzz around Cam Miller because of his legacy, because of what he's done. And this game probably meant more than the rest of the FCS. So I think sometimes that publicity and the articles that other people are writing does influence the votes too. I do think that's a possibility. Now, if Cam wins it, I don't think it's undeserved by any means. I think if you vote for Cam, that's a very solid vote, and he deserves every vote if you vote for him. But I do think there's some weird article bias, and that's even at the FBS level. That's at the NFL level. There is going to just be publicity that will help one person a little more than others. We see it with Patrick Mahomes, even if he's not playing well. Patrick Mahomes is still probably the front runner of the MVP, right? You see that over with, Shedeur. Shedeur is a front runner for a very long time, even when he didn't, have any type of games to back it up at the FBS level. Publicity sells. And at this level, there's so few articles that are being written in general. So I think if Sam Herder today or Hero Sports today goes, Cam Miller, he should win, and here's his reasons, I bet you 98% of the voters out there, they won't use their own logic, make their own decision, and use their own eyeballs. They'll go, Sam's probably right because Sam's points are valid. Sam makes a lot of great points. So I think it's a little bit weird because we've gone away from, just the stats. Last year, I don't think Mark was the best player in the FCS by any means. I just don't think so. I think he had the best roster. I think he had the best team to make him look really phenomenal. And he's a smart player, so he doesn't make mistakes. So are we judging the best offensive player on who just makes the least amount of mistakes? If that's what you value, then awesome. Vote that way. But I bet you most people don't know Paxton. I don't think most people know what conference SEMO's in if you're voting. Yeah. And that sucks to say, but it's a reality. I don't think there's a lot of people who are voting who know that.
And I do want to introduce
they don't know
everybody
he has 2,200 yards. I bet you they don't know he has 6 interceptions.
Yep. 21 touchdowns.
Yeah. I bet you most people don't know that. It is kind of weird, though, how quiet it's been for Tommy Mellott, who's actually having a better season than I think everyone else so far. And he's playing less minutes because they are done by halftime. They're done by the third quarter because he is dominating everyone. And I get the strength of schedule argument is very valid. And if you want to vote on it today because of strength of schedule, that's a valid argument. Just stand by your argument, and I think that's fair. So better chance between these two. Let's go back to it. Yeah, Cam Miller by far. And I think it's because it's Cam Miller. I think if Paxton had 1,000 more yards than Cam Miller, I still think right now it'd probably be Cam Miller. It is a little bit of a QB award, and it is a popularity contest at the end of the day. And that's coming from the program that's won the most Walter Payton Awards. I get it. It is a little bit of a popularity contest. The difference is when my players won it outside of Bo, they had 5,500 yards and 60 touchdowns, or they had almost 2,000 wide receiving yards and 20 touchdowns. They had what Cam Miller will have probably as a quarterback for a wide receiver. So it's changed a little bit. And I don't care if it changes. If that's how you view is the best player, then awesome, vote for it. And Cam Miller would be deserving.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're all valid. Andrew, between these two, or you want to try to shower us with your guy? Do you want to sell Zach, or you feel strongly about one of these guys?
No, Zach's doing great things so far, but he's not in this talk by any means at this moment. Obviously, it's predominantly a stats-driven award, but there's those years where it does become an MVP award, and who's more important for their team? I'd say Cam Miller's the most important for his team, and Touchdown Tommy for sure is the most important for his team. They definitely go as Tommy goes, and NDSU goes as Cam Miller goes. But what Paxton's doing is unreal as well. And you put Paxton in a Missouri Valley team or a Big Sky team with those stats, he's probably getting just as much media coverage. So it's kind of crazy that he can shower or a minimal amount of shower from the media. I'd say at this point, unfortunately, just due to name recognition and being in the Valley, it's Cam. But I still feel like Cam's more of a game manager.
The one thing I thought last night is, as I think about these awards, I always look for seminal moments. And that's one of the reasons, to be really, really honest, and I still get shit for it to these days, that I didn't vote for Trey Lance. I didn't see a guy that was going to take over a game with his arm as a quarterback. And when I looked at the tougher games that Trey had, it wasn't him carrying that team, though he was a phenomenal player, deserved the award. I just didn't vote for him. So, but then last night I'm watching the game, and it's down to it. And what happens? They put the ball in Cam Miller's hand and said, go win us a football game. Gimpy ankle, he's running the ball. He's 7 for 7, and that was a dot. That touchdown
was an NFL top tier throw.
An NFL level throw. Those are the kind of drives and plays that do stick in voters' minds and win Walter Payton Awards.
Yeah. And he's playing phenomenal this year. It's not just that one play. He played a rough game until that last drive. That was a bulk of his stats. But this year, Cam Miller has been Cam Miller, and it's been a really solid Cam Miller. This NDSU offense looks so much better than last year. So if he wins, it's very deserving.
Yeah. Speaking of people that annoy a lot of people that live in the Fargo area or are from there, it's time to eat.
Taco King, coming to you from bright and sunny Fargo, North Dakota. It's time for a taco bet, and time for you losers to pay up.
All righty. So we're down to the taco bet. So Matt put a lot of stats in here to lead into his question. Basically, last year to win the Walter Payton, Mark had 25 touchdowns, 2,350 yards, 220 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, so 32 total. Cam right now has 20 total touchdowns, 1,600 pass yards, 250 rushing yards. His over-under for the taco bet is over-under 9.5 more total touchdowns for Cam Miller with 4 games remaining. They play Murray State, UNI, Missouri State, and at South Dakota. Andrew, you want to go first? Give your over-under on this?
Yeah. I mean, I broke down his stats actually through the first 8 games too. So he's averaging like 1.75 passing touchdowns, 3/4 of a rushing touchdown. So just call it 2.5 touchdowns a game that he's responsible for. So, I mean, 4 games left. I mean, it's definitely likely. It comes out to 9 touchdowns, and one of those games is Murray State, and UNI is not the greatest team right now either. They're not the UNI of old. So I'd take the over pretty easily just by looking at the statistics there and the breakdown.
Sounds like a good one. Kyler, what do you think? Rev thinks it's under, by the way.
Rev thinks it's under.
Yeah.
I would say it's probably going to be over. I mean, Murray State is trash. They have a horrible defense. It's kind of reminds me of my defense, so it's fun to watch, right? Shitty. Then UNI sucks. So in Missouri State, I mean, they're okay for a transitioning team. They should be better, but it is what it is. So yeah, I would say Cam's going to get over 9.5. But also, you go back to those stats for Walter Payton Award winners. Like, those are not good stats. I'm sorry. That is very lackluster when we've had 60 touchdown, 59, 50. Even Briscoe, I know we all give him shit. He had almost, 5,000 yards in 50-something touchdowns.
Yeah, really helped him in the playoffs.
Where it's like an actual offensive player winning it. I mean, that would be great. But no, he's going to go over. I bet you he has 11 or 12 touchdowns to end the season. I think one of these games he's going to go off.
Yeah, I was thinking 11 or 12. Honestly, I would take the over here. Rev's going to take the under. We're going to make.
I think
Matt
he's going to have 4
under.
touchdowns against Murray State or 5 by himself.
Yeah,
that's pretty solid. And the key is his ankle. Do they kind of backpedal him a little bit and say, "All right, you're going to play a half. We're going to get comfortable, then we're going to sit you." I don't know. We'll see how that goes because that will play a part. But now it's time for our quick hit.
Just because your question is answered quickly doesn't mean we don't care. It's time for this week's quick hit questions.
All right, we'll just go through the quick hits. If we all want to answer them, that's fine because I'm hosting and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So the first one, where will Montana State and South Dakota State be ranked tomorrow? So will Montana State go to 2, or will the Dakota States just swap spots? Tyler, you first.
I think 2 and 3, and I think it will be Montana State at 2, South Dakota State at 3.
Andrew?
Yeah, I think Montana State will be at 2 and South Dakota State at 3. I actually have Montana State at 1.
And there's a definite argument that can be made there too.
Right. Yeah, that's where I struggled last night after the game, was arguing with myself for 1 and 2 actually.
Yeah, I have, and I'm going to keep North Dakota State 1, Montana State 2, South Dakota State 3, just because I haven't seen enough from anybody behind to come back and say they should go ahead of South Dakota State.
Yeah.
Slot voting is still a thing, so I could definitely, I would be fine if they slid to 3, but I would also not be surprised if the ballot comes out and they're 1-2. I wouldn't be shocked at all. So the next question from Nicholas Deal, and that first question was from Eric Klecki. Nicholas Deal says, what gap is wider, from 3 to 4 or 4 to 25? And to me, it's 4 to 25 because, yes, it's a wide gap from those top 3 to South Dakota, but from South Dakota even to the next tier is huge. Never mind getting all the way to 25. Any disagreement there?
Yeah, I don't think there's 25 teams that are good enough to be in the 25. So I think that gap is pretty damn big because South Dakota looks legit.
Yeah, I mean, y'all have said it all season. Once you hit like that 12 area, like it's who knows what is what as far as the rankings from 12 to probably 30.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can even go further than 30 if you want to. The next question, we're gonna spend a little time on this because we haven't talked about the Southland. Is SLU deserving of a top 25? This is actually your question, Andrew. And I know you said it feels gross to ask. Their only FCS losses are SDSU and Tarleton, and then they played some FBS games. And then Josh Hoppin says UIW versus SLU. Big expectations for this game or not? Absolutely big expectations. Andrew, it's your team, your conference. I'll give you the floor for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, right now I have SLU sitting around, I think 21 or 22. A 3-point loss to Tarleton, who's top 15 right now, and obviously they didn't do nothing against South Dakota State when South Dakota State came down to visit, but they still played them. They still lined up and played the game and grew from that. So outside of those two games, they've done nothing but win in the FCS. And yeah, I mean, it's huge expectations for this game. You have pretty much the de facto conference championship happening yet again. And UIW, I think they've only won one time in the last 5 years, or the last 5 visits to Strawberry. So Strawberry is a tough place for UIW to play. The year UIW went to the semifinals, they ended up losing to Southeastern. So yeah, I agree, Dustin.
No, I'm going to say no. I watched them play live. I don't think they're that good. What are they going to hang their hat on? The SFA or Easterwood? Those aren't top 25 teams. I do kind of feel like when you're this late in the season, you have to beat a ranked team to kind of get that love. And I do think they're closing in the gap because I think other teams are just not worthy. But I put them right at about 28. So I think they're close. And if you have them at 21, that's fine. I'm not going to say that's wrong because, again, after maybe 15 to 18, there's a whole bunch of teams that probably deserve there. But I'm waiting for this game. I don't think they're going to beat Incarnate Word, and then they're back out of the top 25 probably to begin with. So I think Incarnate Word's probably going to beat them. And again, I just don't know what win they're going to hang their hat on. I get it's a close loss to Tarleton, but what win are you going to hang your hat on? The team that almost beat you when you're at your home, and that team lost to a Division III Drake. I mean, that doesn't really speak a lot of volumes. SFA sucks too, and SFA almost had a chance to beat them. So I think they're on the cusp, and if you just keep winning, of course, you're going to make it. And I think this is a big game. It's going to be a fun one for you guys. And if they win, 100%, because I wouldn't take Incarnate Word out of the top 25. I'd probably push them closer to that 24, 25. So then SLU would slide right above them, in my opinion. So I'm waiting for this week.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I'm going to have Southeast Louisiana in the top 25. They're probably going to be sitting around 30 to 33. But yeah, they have to win this week to get that. And you were talking about, teams coming into this week, there were 34 teams with a ranked win. So you got to be able to beat a ranked team to kind of get a little bit of push up the ballot a little bit. And Southeast Louisiana is not there yet, but they've got an opportunity on their home field. I do think Zach Elzada and that offense can be a little too much for them. You see them struggle with teams that have a good, strong, solid offense, and I think that's going to be more of the same this week there. The next one from Kylor Elliott, cool first name. Is South Dakota flying under the radar? Seems like they live in the shadow of the Montana and Dakotas, but are always a playoff threat. South Dakota's the number 4 team, and they've got an opportunity to go prove that they're better than that. But that feels like what they are. Andrew, any thoughts? What are your thoughts on South Dakota?
No, I mean, I agree. They're in the top 5. Nothing under the radar about top 5. So that's all I can really say. I mean, they have Big Brother up in Brookings that's won 2 natties, but there's nothing under the radar about South Dakota. They upset South Dakota State just a couple years ago. So
also, don't bring that up to Brendan. And then, by the way, that last minutes, last second kind of stuff. Don't bring that up.
Don't bring it up to Rev either.
Also, can I just troll the fact that he said they're always in the playoff running? Right, they've been 3 times in their whole career. I wouldn't consider that all the time, but yeah, I mean, I don't think they're flying under the radar when you're a top 5 team. Even before Villanova lost, what were they, number 5 this last week?
They're still 4.
Okay, they were still 4 above Nova. Okay, then my bad. So I don't think if you're a top 4 team, you're flying under the radar. Now, I think it could be fair to say they're flying quite a bit behind Montana State, North Dakota State, and South Dakota State. I think that's fair because that's probably where the gap is. But you got a chance to earn it this week. And, I mean, beat them, and that will prove a lot. But as of right now, I think most people think there probably is a gap, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. George Tillman says, with Montana State having to only play their starters for half games because of their ability to stop the other teams, basically blowing people out, will it affect their performance and stamina in a close down-to-the-wire game? Kylor, thoughts on Montana State and only having to play the starters?
Probably not. I mean, I would say they're probably more refreshed than anything. I mean, I don't think they're going into like a title fight in MMA or boxing where you need to, train for 12 rounds. These guys are in practice playing full games. They've been playing full games their whole life. This isn't one of those things where they're used to playing 2 quarters their whole career, and now they have to finally play 5 for the first time ever, or 4 for the first time ever, 12-round fight for the first time ever. I think they're fine. This is a team sport, and that defense is solid. So, yeah, I would say they're fine.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's going to do nothing but help. You take miles off of legs, tread off tires, like keep them fresh. I think game management and all that is good because think about Tommy Blott. He's been hurt a lot. So get up early, get him out of there, let him, dominate while he's in there. And when the playoffs come, you turn him loose because they haven't really turned him loose.
I guess my counter take on this would be maybe, not the resting aspect, but maybe facing adversity, right? Sometimes if you haven't faced adversity, because the Big Sky sucks this year, sometimes if you haven't faced adversity, maybe the first time you do face adversity, you don't know how to respond well to it. So I do think in order for them to make a push for the title, they probably need to get in a couple close games because they're going to be in a close game with the Dakotas, no matter what. So it's, one of those things, how are you going to face adversity? Is it going to punch you in the mouth and you don't know how to respond down the field? And I think that's more important than just, are they resting? Are they going to have the stamina? I think that adversity is going to be a whole difference maker. How do you respond?
Yep. Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I don't say it hurts them by any means. If anything, it keeps them from the injury bug, really. Like you were saying, I mean, Tommy's historically had injuries, and we've seen what injuries have done to teams like Idaho and Southern Illinois and how bad that's hurt them. So, I mean, they come down, and at the end of their schedule, I think they have a bye week this week, and then Eastern and SAC, and then I think they finish off with Davis, and then the brawl. So they'll get tested at the end, which is perfect for getting ready for playoffs. So
Sure.
they'll meet their test. But as far as now, I mean, it's probably a great thing for them to stay out of that injury bug as much as they can.
Yeah, I think that's very accurate. Seth Meyer, what teams, if any, have the best chance to go into Fargo and Bozeman in December and win a playoff game? South Dakota State.
Yeah, the Jackrabbits.
I mean, that's it. And if Bozeman in the right situation, the Grizz, because it's not going to be something new to them, but that might be it. Any other teams, guys?
Someone who can just completely stop the run. And right now, I do think that's kind of just the bunnies, but styles make for matchups. So someone who can stop the run and maybe hope for it is a horrible, snowy, sleety game to where Tommy can't throw to and just has to run. So then you only have to game plan for one aspect of Montana State's game. But it's going to be tough. I wouldn't want to go to Bozeman in December.
Yeah, as far as Bozeman,
anybody going into Fargo?
Yeah,
I would say as far as Bozeman, I don't see anyone really outside of SDSU. Fargo, I mean, I can always hope for a rematch of another semifinal, but I think that difference in concepts would be an interesting take again. I think the first time they weren't ready for that same type of scheme to come at them, so it'd be interesting to see what the rematch does and see if the Fargo Dome quote unquote magic happens again with fumbles and different things like that.
Not that
I
you're
don't know
bitter.
what you're talking about.
Not that he's bitter. Couple about the committee here. Wade Barrett says, how much does the committee value the rankings and seeding? Everyone's saying the number doesn't matter, but traveling to rookies, Bozeman, Fargo, is a big deal. And then who's this person? Scott Flanagan says that it's going to matter at the end if all three do not lose. The committee goes off the resume. You can tell what the committee is going to do by looking at ranked wins, whether they beat the FBS team, how many wins they have against the FCS. The rankings might be some sort of tiebreaker for them, but it seems to be pretty far down the list. I mean, think back to 2016. I mean, that's pretty far back now, but Sam Houston was the number one team in the country all year, 5 seed. They had to come to James Madison. So, I mean, NDSU still was ranked pretty high last year. I said all the last 3 or 4 weeks, they're not getting a seed. They don't have the resume. They didn't get a seed. So, any comments, thoughts to that?
No, I mean, yeah, you got it.
Andrew?
The committee's going to do what the committee feels they think is best. And so you can never tell what the committee's heads are going to be doing. So you can guess, but until they post it, we won't know.
Yeah. And we got a few here to finish that, not necessarily about any of the teams here, but so my wife asked a fun question this morning that I was like, I'm going to put this in because I think it's a cool question. She says, when you're watching your team play, what makes you get angry the quickest? Andrew, what makes you get angry the quickest with Incarnate Word?
Poor offensive schemes, and then forcing throws when you don't need to. Live to play another down. Some Calzada did a lot last year that knock on wood this year. For the most part, he hasn't done a whole lot. So,
Kylor?
Yeah, 100% schemes on some of these Eastern teams. I mean, if the D line is stopping your run game and you're going, 1 yard on average, and it's 3rd and 6, and you decide for 5 3rd and 6s in a row, you're going to do a QB sneak for 1 yard when you're throwing the ball pretty freaking good. And I mean, that seems like it pisses me off quite a bit. We did the same thing with the SLU. We're throwing the ball really good. We could have easily beat them. We're more talented. But instead, when they're shutting down the run, we go, hey, we're really successful throwing the ball. We're going to run it down their throats again for another 1.3 yards. That is fantastic. So, the scheming is really pissing me off.
For me, it's on defense just not able to get off the field on 3rd down. Getting a team in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 consistently, and then giving up a 10, 11-yard pass drives me insane. And Jamie's done that a lot here this year, and it's really frustrating. So for me, that'll get me mad real quick. And
you seem so privileged. I just expect that. So that doesn't even piss me off because I'm just expecting it. I'm looking for new ways to piss me off.
Yeah, well, you got to find new ways for you. The last two are fun off-topic questions, and they happen to both be from Andrew. So, what is your dream vacation spot and dream car, Kylor?
Oh man, dream vacation spot. I don't know if I really have one. I've always wanted to go to the North Island of Japan, especially in the winter. I forgot what the island's called. It's pretty cool though. Dream car? I don't know. Shelby. I mean, I don't really have a dream car, dream vacation because we could just buy it and go. So wherever Andrew wants to take me is my dream vacation, and wherever he picks me up in whatever car he has, that's my dream car.
There you go. For me, the dream trip would be New Zealand, Australia, and the car would be a '69 Dodge Challenger.
Nice.
Andrew, answer your own question.
I'm a pretty simple guy. Banff or Glacier National Park.
Oh, that place is awesome.
Just cool weather up in the mountains. Nice cold nights in a hot tub with some whiskey in my hand, and then for dream car is either a 3500 dually or a Porsche 911 GT3 RS.
There you go. I like it. And then the final question: who is one person in history that you would want to meet and why? And Andrew, I'm gonna throw it right at you real fast because you came up with the question.
George Patton.
Oh, that's such a great answer. Great answer.
The leadership qualities, man.
Kylor?
I don't know. Wilkes Booth.
Oh my God.
Joking.
All right, Kevin.
No, the person it's because I would want to punch him in the face first. So that's why. Let me redeem myself and say, no, don't do this. Dream person I'd want to meet. Man. Again, I just don't have this fascination with like famous people or people in the past because I could watch a movie on it and I just feel like, now I know about their life. So the dream person I want to meet is Craig Haley.
There you go. That's an answer.
I haven't met him
For
in
me,
person.
Good answer.
For me, it's kind of along the same lines as Andrew. I would love to have sat down with General Eisenhower and have him tell me about how he came up with the D-Day plan and his group, just because that's such a pivotal moment in history. That for me would probably be the one. That and or George Washington, those last offensives of the Revolutionary War. Just as a history nerd, those would be my two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would tell him, dude, just use drones. Way easier.
There you go.
Got
That would have worked.
inventions.
Not
Right.
impressed, man.
Well, not too bad. A little over an hour here. Andrew, really appreciate you taking some time. Tell us where we can find you guys and what you do and what you're looking forward to.
Yeah. You can find us at FCS Poll on X or Twitter, if you want to call it Twitter still. We're the triumvirate, 3 dudes who played college athletics and get together, and we have 1 vote within the FCS Stats Poll through our buddy Zach. And we just come together, love football, love college football especially, and we just like to have a good time with everyone. And this community is way better than the FBS community for sure. So anything y'all want to talk about, we love to talk about, and we love criticism. So when people call us stupid and ignorant, we take that and we keep on moving and learn. So can't please everybody, but yeah, we love exactly what we do, and it's been fun for the few years that we've been doing this.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun space to be in. Kylor, any closing thoughts from you?
Dude, again, I'm going to say it every single week. I'm so ready for basketball season. I can't wait. I absolutely can't wait for basketball season. Yeah, that's about it.
I heard Aaron Best is renegotiating.
Who knows? We'll see. Maybe I can go back in history and meet that person too.
There you go. Well, we're definitely in the back half of the season here, so things are going to start really coming into focus. We've been saying a long way to go, and it's not that far away now. We're probably 4 or 5 weeks away from the bracket coming out. So a week before that, we'll have another live show. I hope that you've enjoyed this one. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate having you on.
Yeah, thank you.
I think there's only – go ahead.
No,
Anything else?
I appreciate you guys. I was wholeheartedly joking this morning when I said, "Oh, and me too." So I appreciate getting to come on last minute and everything that y'all do for this.
Matt put you in the thumbnail. Was only the only thing that we could do. Kyler's like, we should just have him on. Done. So there we go. So we appreciate it. Thank you for your coming
Same
on.
shirt.
That's all right. So look for the big matchup, Incarnate Word SOU this weekend. Going to tell you a lot about the Southland. The only other thing to say is
thank you for listening to the FCS Fans Nation podcast. Make sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe on YouTube. To listen ad-free and enjoy many other perks, join FCS Gold for only 99 cents a month by using the link in the description below. Make sure to follow FCS Fans Nation on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for listening to the premier podcast for FCS football.